Uh, Hi. So I've never really made a YouTube video where I've talked before, so I'm not good at this. Neither do I have a script. But I just thought I'd say a few things about the 大雁展翅 from 2011 because I just bought one. Now I must say that even though this is a V1 which came out in 2011, it's actually a new batch of these cubes. And you can tell because of the shape of the stickers, you can see that here it's cut off to match the shape of the edge, as well as the box, which looks like this. Now to compare that to an original zhanchi from back then, well, the stickers here are not cut off, they're just squares, and the box looks like this. Internally, these two cubes look identical, but I think the main difference is really just the plastic used. I can tell it sounds kind of different. It sounds a lot clickier. It sounds a lot smoother. But it's also because I haven't broken in the cube yet. Oops. So, I guess I'll talk about first the cube out of the box. And out of the box, this really impressed me for a cube from 2011. Really because I own cubes from around this time period and they feel really different. They don't feel as smooth as the zhanchi. Even the Guhong V2, which I guess I can make a comparison, this wasn't as smooth feeling as the zhanchi. And I say smooth feeling, I mean this thing turns really easily. But it also turns too easily, which is really my problem with the cube out of the box. I've made a lot of mistakes when turning, like making a rogue turn when I didn't want to, because it turns too easily. I know that's what tensioning is for, but that's besides the point. I'm talking about it out of the box. But generally speaking, this cube feels quite uncontrollable, especially compared to the Guhong V2. Now I won't say one is better than the other, but when I use the Guhong V2, it feels it's a clickier feel, or at least it feels like there's something stopping you from overturning and locking up, right? But for a zhanchi, no, there is no such thing. If you overturn, you just overturn, you can just lock up. It's actually kind of nice. So it's kind of like two different styles of cubing. I say the zhanchi is more for like freestyle kind of cubing, whereas for this is more like this Guhong V2 is more like if you're scared of overturning, it feels more structured, the turn, if that makes sense. And I think that's the main difference between these two, because I've asked myself the difference between the two. This cube is surprisingly kinda heavy. Like, I did not expect the cube to be this heavy. But I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not that heavy. I think I just use very light cubes in general. So, corner cutting wise, this cube is fine. It's acceptable. It's not too bad. Although it's not exceptional, as you can see. I think the Guhong specializes more on the corner cutting end. So if you like, you could look at that instead. But this to me, this is more than enough. To me, this is still acceptable. You know, I don't lock up too much with this cube. I still lock up, but honestly, I lock up with like every cube. That's just how I turn. Yeah. So, non-intention, I really like it. Like it's pretty easy to use, and it's also not something where I make a lot of mistakes. I mean, I still make mistakes, but if you compare it to like something like the Type F2 that I use, this thing, yeah, as you can see, I didn't make any rogue turns. I can guarantee you on other cubes I would make quite a few rogue turns in the wrong direction, which wastes time. And again, it feels easy to turn, so it's like this perfect mix of being easy to turn but not too easy. And if I compare it to like other cubes I use, like the Rubik's brand, I like the Rubik's brand too, but it's so much harder to turn the Rubik's brand that it tires out my fingers after a while. This cube doesn't, so it just feels like it's strictly better than a Rubik's brand. Yeah. Now, as for popping and corner twisting, the zhanchi is famous because it is the first, or as far as I'm concerned, one of the first cubes to use torpedoes in the edge pieces. And what that means is that this cube just does not pop. And I can testify that I've done quite a number of solves on this, and I not popped. And you can compare it to the Guhong V2. Well, this is the V1 actually. Compared to the Guhong V1, this thing pops a lot. This thing is 1 year older, and it lacks the torpedoes that this does. And the difference is quite big, although I don't really know how to show that if you don't own it. So you have to take my word for it. This thing just doesn't pop. And the corners don't twist. At least it's really hard to twist. I can't twist it right now. Although again, I've tensioned my cube. Maybe out of the box it was easier to twist. I do not know. But yeah, it's pretty difficult to accidentally twist it. I can't even if I try. Now as for how it feels and the sound in general, this cube is not too loud. It's not very quiet either, but it's not loud. Definitely lacks that clicking sound that the Guhong V2 has. Although people say that this cube has a clicky sound. Maybe I just haven't broken into the cube yet, which is why mine sounds different. As far as feel goes, I think it's interesting to note that I feel that this cube has a very similar feel to TE budget cubes. And that is a feel that I don't like, but I think context has a lot of play here, because I don't like the TE budget cubes because they feel cheap. Like, I know they are supposed to be cheap, but that overall cheap feel kind of turns me off from those cubes. But then you look at the context of the zhanchi, and it's like, this cube is old, right? It's not. It feels like this not because it's cheap, but because it's old. And I think in the context that this is a really old cube, it makes that feel kind of endearing. And I guess if you're like a modern cuber looking to try out the zhanchi, you might feel that this cube feels cheap, I guess. I don't really know how to describe it, but it has that cheap feel TE cube has. But I think it's just how cubes used to be, honestly. Or maybe I just haven't broken into my cube yet, because I am quite sure that this cube is fairly lubed out the box. Like if I compare it to my older zhanchi, it feels kind of different. It feels like more sticky and clicky. This is a classic TE cheap feel to it. Again, I don't really know how to describe it, but there is definitely that feel that I have that normally I wouldn't like, but in this case, it's actually pretty neat. And like I said at the start, this cube has already exceeded my expectations for something from 2011. Alright, so I guess the last thing I talk about is the features. And I mean, come on, this is from 2011. What kind of features are there? There's just the torpedoes, which stop it from popping, which is actually really good. It's kind of hard to disassemble the cube. When I assembled it, I actually had to loosen up one side because the torpedoes made it so hard to take out and put it back in. Apart from that, there is really no features. It's just an old school core. Within the faces, it's just a regular screw head. So if you're the kind of person who uses the settings things, that doesn't exist here. You just have to count the number of turns you do to make sure all the tensions are even. Lastly, this cube just looks gorgeous. I know that people don't really like the black frame cubes as much as others because they look really bland, but personally I'm a very big fan of black framed cubes, sticker cubes. So compared to the Wuhong, actually honestly all Dian cubes look gorgeous to me. Externally they all look the same. The difference is the internals. But yeah, I just find that the black frame cubes look a lot nicer than other colors. Like, I'm not a huge fan of this. But yeah, it's definitely a look that you can't really find much nowadays, especially when there are no longer any stickered cubes out there. So my verdict, in 2026, is this worth getting? Maybe, because for a cuber like me, and I really do not perform well with new cubes, this cube is pretty much near perfect for me. My current favorite cube in terms of speed is the Dian Tengyun, the V1. I'd say that this is almost there for me, which means I'm fairly confident that I can be at or near my fastest on this cube. But if you're the type of cuber in 2026 who turns really wildly, I don't really know how to describe it, but my friend's cube is so light that I could do like a 260 with one flip. If you're that kind of cuber, then maybe this is not really for you, or you could buy this just to try it out, because this is a piece of history. This is a really legendary cube. This was a big thing back in the day. So, is it worth buying to try? Yeah. Is it worth maining? Depends on you, but the fact that it still holds up today is more than enough for me. So yeah, that's it for me. Bye.